Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to our review of Subnautica. So, it's been a while since we played Subnautica in general. But of course, obviously, that's a story-based game, and we beat that. We beat that a long time ago. That was like year one of the channel or something like that. But anyway, but we're here to review it, because that's what we're here to do. So, without further ado, let's get on to the game company / creator. The game company, I'm going to call them a company, they're more of an indie corporation. I think they're bigger now based on all the stuff they're doing with Sub-Zero and the new game they're working on. But it's Unknown Worlds Entertainment is their name. And to my knowledge, they haven't done anything else besides Subnautica. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they haven't. So, they've made Subnautica, they made Subnautica Below Zero. I believe they made like one small Subnautica spin-off thing. And then now they're working on what people are thinking is Subnautica 3. They haven't specifically said it's Subnautica 3, but they're heavily leaning to the idea. Or I guess in this case it'd be Subnautica 2, wouldn't it? Because it's Sub-Zero is not a number, and it's also a prequel. Because from what I've seen of the story so far and our playthrough that we forgot about, this seems to have happened before the main guy lands. Because there's actual civilizations on the thing. But anyway, so yeah, they've mainly stuck to Subnautica games, but I'm very interested to see if they ever branch out. So I think they're a pretty good company. Also, a fun fact with the company itself is you all know Jacksepticeye. He's kind of calmed down a little bit now.
Top of the morning, lad.
No, but back in the day when he was like doing all sorts of game videos, he played Subnautica back like when it was a beta or something. And him playing the game, they sent him like an email, I believe. They said that him playing the game alone kind of helped fund the entire project. So basically what they said is if Jack hadn't played the game and done a series on it, this game might have never have came out.
Wow.
So we kind of have Jack to thank for this masterpiece that came out. So yeah, I believe I'm pretty sure it's an email. They sent him like saying, "Hey, we didn't think this project was gonna work out, like whatever." And I think it was like not financially, but it was just like emotionally. I think is what it was, because they were like, "Oh, we're not sure if this is gonna work." But to see the outcry of support from you and your fans, like whatever they said. But either way, at the end of it, they said, "We don't know if this would have happened without you." So, very sentimental in that idea, but yeah, I'm glad it came out nonetheless, because this game was great.
100%.
But yeah, moving on. What is done well? There's a lot of things that are done well. First of all, the terrifyingness of the ocean. The ocean in real life is terrifying because it's the ocean. There's like demonic creatures in the deepest depths, right? And so when you play a game in the ocean, kind of like think of like Raft. We play Raft in the channel. I think there's only one or so videos on it, but there's more to come soon. And that game kind of, I feel like, to me, that kind of is not as good at capturing the fear of the ocean, because there's just that one shark that roams around and nothing else. But in Subnautica, there's those stalker guys. There's they're not enemies, but those gigantic like humpback whale looking dudes with the reefbacks, I think is their name.
Yeah,
which I believe I watched the video, not recently, but I watched the video where we saw them, and Zach was terrified of the noise. He was like, "What is that?"
But it turned out they were cool. They're cool dudes.
But yeah, so they're cool. But like that's terrible. Just finding them for the first time is terrifying, because you're like, "What is that?" Because you see this overlooming shadow beneath you.
The fear. It's like the fear. It captures the fear of finding something stupidly big in the ocean.
Yeah. And speaking of talking of stupidly big, the Reaper Leviathans. Screw those things and everything they stand for. The Reaper Leviathans, you can find them in the dead zone, not the ecological dead zone, that's the very bottom. And then near the Aurora, you can find them as well. And they are just the worst. They can, if you're in, the scariest thing about them though, is if you're in, it's the Cyclops was the big one. The Seamoth, I think, was the name of the little one. If you're in the Seamoth, they use their mandibles to grab the Seamoth, physically shake you around, and it is awful. It is terrifying. I remember watching Corey like have a mental breakdown, like watching him get attacked by that thing. Jack, when it first happened to him, he was like terrified. It's like just watching people like see that is also funny. But it's also, if you're playing alone, terrifying. So they really matched that. Obviously, as you go deeper, you come across more monstrosities like those crab guy. I think that's squid crabs or head.
It's like a freaking jelly crab.
It's whatever. It's the octopus looking dude, but they're called crabs or something.
The freaking ghost leviathan. Remember when you guys saw that thing?
Yeah. Well, that was the ghost leviathan, not juvenile. The juveniles are terrifying too, but the big one when we found that, because that was the episode with just me and Isabel, I think, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You guys just kind of went into the ecological dead zone, and then you freaking
and then that thing popped out of nowhere, and we even made a short about it. That's how monumental that moment was. Yeah. And I booked it out of there because I'm like, nope. So that was terrifying. And then you have the gigantic fire-breathing dragon in the volcanic area, which is he wasn't as I guess he was terrifying at first. He kind of when he was shooting fire, that's when he became more terrifying because it's like, oh crap, he actually is a danger to
and
me
he's
right
freaking ginormous.
And he was ginormous, yeah. And then you want to talk about ginormous. When we first met I don't remember her name.
It's like the Emperor.
Yeah. Emperor was the name. She wasn't a threat, obviously, but she was massive when you first see her, and that is terrifying because she uses her claws to come up on the thing, and you're thinking, am I going to a boss fight right now? Because that's what it looks like, because you're on like a little platform, and the boss is like coming in. And then
there's like hands that just come out, it's like, oh god.
And then you see the eyes in the mouth, it's like, oh, we're doomed. But obviously she's friendly. But it's just like Zach mentioned before, it's using the fear of there's a word for it. It's like to show you how small you are compared to how big something else is. Yeah. Because you know how small you are in this world because you're just a normal human, and they kind of give you size comparisons. Like the sizing in this game is very well done because it's very realistic. And so yeah, that's done well. Again, there's an actual name for the process of that fear, like unlocking that fear, but I don't know that at the moment. The different biomes. Think of like Minecraft. I think there's different biomes. You start in the sort of I know there's a name for it. It's like the normal biome. Then you have the blood kelp forest, which I think you can find ghost juveniles there. Pretty terrifying. You have the Lost River, I think is the official name of it, where you can find the ghost leviathan juveniles again. That's where it's like where you can find the bones and all that jazz. Yep. You have the volcanic area, which I mentioned before, which is where you go to the end of the game. You have the ecological dead zone, which is like the straight up dead zone where there's nothing. It's just blackness.
There's just nothing.
You have you just have the normal dead zone, which is where there's like, it's just all sand dunes basically, and there's just the the Reaper Leviathans there.
There's like it's like a swamp area with like normal kelp.
Oh yeah, I would call it the forest area almost.
Yeah.
And then you have the sort of like it's the dune place where you have like the red grass, and that's where the humpback dudes are. Yeah. That's a biome itself as well. There's probably more that I'm not even thinking of, but there's so many biomes, and it made the game so fun to play because it's not just if it all looked the same as the starting area, it would have got boring after a while. It would have gotten formulaic basically. Also, talking about terrifying is anytime you'd hear that it's the exploding dies, they make a sound effect before they come after you. Every time you hear that, you'd be like, "Oh shh!" And then you need to get out of there as soon as possible because you're about to explode.
Those freaking things.
You have the Grand Reef, which is where you can find those head crab dudes. And there's those giant like orb things. I don't know. You have the islands you could go to. There's so much to explore in this game. Because it's pure open world. I wouldn't say it's as open world as Minecraft because that game is massive, but like it's still a pretty huge world. If you look up like the actual size comparison, it's pretty ridiculous. But just a lot of things done well. I could go on and on about what's done well, but we got to move on. So what could be improved? I think I found the game to be quite grindy, especially looking for, I think it was lithium. Specifically, I mean, there's a couple diamonds and lithium were
diamonds especially.
Those were like
finding that crap was just I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, and also you'll notice if you watch the series, there's an episode where I show you the fact that I made like a giant tower. That took a while. That did not take like whoop-de-doo, I played the game for an hour. That took around like 10 hours or something, just pure grinding. Which made me glad that we chose it's not the survival mode where you have to deal with food and water. It's the other mode where you just have to deal with health and not drowning.
It's creative mode.
It's not creative.
No, not creative.
Freedom mode, which I think it's because I saw that because when I first saw that, I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with the food and water. Which I guess now I'm looking back on it would have been fine, I guess. But during the grinding, I was so glad I didn't have to worry about that because I would have been dead 10 times over. And also, from what I looked at back in the series, is you don't come across food very often. So besides just the fish in the sea, like if you're, I'm talking about like distilled water. I'm talking about the Nutri-Grain bars. Yeah, you don't come across those very often. There's a couple in the Aurora, and then there's a couple in the drop pods. That's about it. So you either have to rely on fish that you have to go after, or just like something else. But yeah, so I'm glad we didn't do that. So I would say, kind of, well, I wouldn't say anything about that really. But yeah, the grindiness of it is a little excessive. I would say that the grindiness of like having to use so much materials for a base is a little crazy. But other than that, I can't really think of much. I wish there was a bigger creature, honestly, now that I'm looking back. And I'm hoping Sub-Zero has this. We haven't seen it yet. I want a creature that's just so astronomically massive that you want to pause the game and walk away. I never had a moment like that in Subnautica where I wanted to pause the game and walk away.
Yeah, something stupid big.
I want something like quadruple the size of the ghost Leviathan that we found in the ecological dead zone. Something like that would instill so much fear that I would not want to play the game anymore. And I want that to happen, because that's how you create fear. Because let's be honest, Subnautica at its core is a horror game. It's the ocean. Nobody likes the ocean. If you like the ocean, you're a bit insane. So it's not advertised as a horror game as far as I'm aware. Open World Survivor. Oh no, it is horror. So they're aware. Okay, good. So yeah, they understand that's a horror game. So you got to lean into that a little bit more. I think that's what I'm hoping their next Subnautica game does, or maybe Sub-Zero does it. I don't know yet. If it does, don't tell us yet. But I want something just so astronomically massive that I want to pause the game and be like, you know what? No. Yeah. And then I end the video right there.
You know what I want to see? I want to see something big where it dives out of the ocean. It's like an eel, right? And it just like curves, and then it takes 15 seconds for it to fully go back.
I wanted to do that, but then I want the mission area to be over there.
Oh yeah.
Because that's how you create fear. Is like you need to go somewhere, you get forced into like not a cutscene, but you get forced into an interaction where it does what Zach just said, but you still need to go over there. It's not like a thing; it's optional. You need to go over there. I think that would just. And like, oh my goodness, that's like...
just being like in a small vehicle as well, maybe?
Yeah, you'd probably have to be. Because navigating in Subnautica without a vehicle is kind of... Oh, that's another thing I'd say. You kind of need a vehicle. And if your vehicle gets destroyed, it's kind of over.
It's over.
But yeah, back to what we were saying is, yeah, I want something like that to happen. Maybe Subnautica Sub-Zero does have it. But if it doesn't, I want their next game to do that. Because again, they're leaning into the horror game. If they didn't think it was a horror game, then cool, I can see why they didn't do that. But they're actively leaning in. Horror is the third category on the main Subnautica game, so I'm very clearly leaning into it. That's really my only critique so far with Subnautica itself. Moving on to any problems or glitches. Oh boy, when they first came out, there was glitches galore. It was we talk about security breach having bugs, nah. Subnautica had so many bugs, sometimes it was unplayable. But luckily, obviously, they fixed them. So in the current full game state, I would say I don't recall coming across many. This one time when I was farming offline, I collected this made me mad. Is I finally found a diamond and it went through the floor. So I broke the thing, I saw the diamond, I didn't click it fast enough, and it went straight to the floor. I'm like, what the heck, man? And I believe in the actual, on video, I believe that happened a couple times with non-diamond stuff, so I didn't really care too much, but it was kind of just an inconvenience. So besides some, like, hitbox issues, I don't recall too much. So in its core game, I think it's pretty good. And I believe they still update it from time to time, if people find, like, a game-breaking bug. Moving on to controls. So controls relate to the system you're on, so obviously this game's on PC and consoles. So we played it on console, if I recall. I believe it was on the Switch, because I found that to be the best way to play it. And on the Switch, you basically use every button. It's a survival game, so you have to kind of figure it out. I believe they do give you a small tutorial at the very beginning. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. But either way, controls are pretty simple. If they do give you a tutorial, they're pretty simple. If not, it's one of those games where you just kind of have to figure it out. And I think that's okay. I think games where you just have to figure it out is fine, because I don't like being babied in video games. So I know Sub-Zero did teach you the ones of that one, but I can't remember if they did in the course of another game. On PC, good luck. I don't want to know how many buttons you have to use on the PC. Because like that, there's like all different sorts of buttons for doing all sorts of things.
Probably a lot.
I'm sure they use the mouse buttons, the two mouse buttons, respectively, but still, I don't want to think of how many keybinds you have to do. But yeah, controls, if they're not straightforward, then it's just kind of a learning thing, which is fine to me. But if you're cautious about that, then you just need to know that, I guess. Moving on to graphics. For a game that came out in 2018, 2018 was the full Steam release. It was out before that though. I want to say, I'd have to check Jack's first video. I want to say it was 2015.
I was about to say 15.
2015 or maybe even 2014. I can't remember exactly, but it's been out for at least almost 10 years. And for a game made 10 years ago, it looks pretty gorgeous. Especially the solar eclipse that happens. If you recall, Subnautica has it's the weird giant planet. I don't want to call it a moon. It's more like a planet. But the solar eclipse, so basically the moon, I keep saying the moon. That planet will go in front of the moon, I don't know what I'm saying. In front of the sun sometimes, creating a solar eclipse, and it looks beautiful. But it is kind of scary because it makes it go dark, and you're like, wait, it's nighttime already, and you just realize, no, it's a solar eclipse. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm so glad they have that. I almost wish Minecraft had solar eclipses, but it doesn't. So yeah, that's really cool. And that's really pretty. The ocean itself, while being terrifying, has some pretty aspects too. Like, think about the Grand Reef. The Grand Reef is beautiful. And the volcanic area looks super cool. So graphically, it's very well done. And obviously, there's some things with rough around the edges. But overall, I think it's pretty decent for a game made about 10 years ago. So moving on to music/sound. We'll go with sound first, because there are some music tracks that play occasionally. It's kind of like Minecraft, where they play in certain scenarios, and just on occasion in general. But these sound effects, man. The sounds that the creatures make.
Good lord.
Especially the like I said, the freaking bomb dudes. I don't know what they're called, but the guys that make the sound. Anytime you hear that sound, immediate fight or flight response. So like, just because you know you're about to blow up. And also I believe it's that they make a sound as they're chasing you. It's like that crescendoing thing where it's like ramping up, and so you're like getting instilled with fear as that's happening. So that's pretty cool. The ghost Leviathan sounds I remember were terrifying. If I recall that one. The roar that I remember first going into the volcanic section. We didn't see the guy first. We heard him first, and I recall being like, something's in here. Like something bad is in here.
Yeah,
so
something huge.
That was really well done as well, in terms of sound. And then all of the creature sounds were super well done, and also the aurora sounds, because the aurora like sometimes like settles sometimes, because obviously it's on the edge of the ocean. But yeah, so that's really well done. And yeah, in terms of music, I would say, I guess that's the thing I could have said earlier, but it's obviously music is its own section. There could have been more music tracks. They kind of got stale after a while, I guess. I want to say there's about 10. But because you play the game so often, you come across those 10 quite often. So yeah, but it's peaceful music. It's kind of like chill music. I believe there's one track that's like, I think it plays during the volcanic era of the game, where you're doing the missions down there. I think it plays during that, where it's kind of more intense. But other than that, they're all kind of subtle and quiet. Which is even better, because it kind of masquerades the game as, oh, don't worry, there's nothing to worry about here. It's all good. You're just in the ocean. It's fine. And then you forget about the demons that lurk within. Yeah, in terms of music, it's alright. No, I wouldn't say too much about it, but the sound really excels. The sound almost makes up for the lack of music.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But moving on to story and characters. I would say the story was that the Aurora had a problem. I don't exactly recall the actual problem. I think it was like a engine problem or something, but they caused them to crash. Or no, the thing shut them down. That's right. The gun shut it down. The alien gun shot it down, and you crashed. You were the only survivor, of course, because that's how that works. You can go to all the different pods, find out what happened to all the different people. There's these like kind of like tablet-looking things that you can get that tell you the information. You can go to the Aurora, the destroyed Aurora, to figure out what's going on. And then throughout the game, you learn that there's like sort of there used to be an alien civilization that used to live here, and that was responsible for shooting down the Aurora. It's like the giant gun thing. And also you get I think it's the Sunbeam is the name of it. The Sunbeam tries to come rescue you. They get shot out of the sky. You get to see it happen. That's pretty terrifying as well, because you realize, oh crap, we're stuck here now. So that kind of instills fear a little bit. But
it also turns out that you're sick and you're about to die, so you need to get cured.
Yeah, which the Emperor has the cure. Or the Emperor's baby has the cure. And then yeah, the story at the end is a little bit sad, just because the Emperor helps you all this way towards the end of the game, and then she just kind of dies, which is kind of sad. Her babies live on though, so there is hope after that. Her babies live, and they kind of you can find them once you activate the cutscene where they leave. You can just find them randomly roaming around. And I don't think we did this in a video, but if you wait enough days, in-game days, and you go looking for them, you'll see them fully grown. Not as big as her, but you'll see them like kind of, I would say, almost half the size of a Reaper. So they're big, but they're not that big. But that's like they're growing. I don't think they grow past that. But yeah, you can just go around and find them and be like, oh hey, there's a Emperor child or whatever you say. So that's a really cool detail. But yeah, in terms of story, it's pretty good. I think for a Subnautica game, there's a lot of lore in it. There's a lot of mystery with the Lost River, especially with those giant like skull things you can find. Like that's why I think they should lean into the whole like I want to see an abysmal monster, because there's those giant skulls in the Lost River or whatever, where it's like, oh, that used to be huge. Yeah, that used to be massive.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah,
movie.
So yeah, I want to see that alive and that kind of thing. But yeah, so in terms of story, it's pretty well done. The characters is really only you and the Emperor that are really worth noting, because the Sunbeam, they kind of get shot out of the sky after hearing them twice, really. The other people that got on the drop pod, they're dead, so you don't really hear them ever. You only hear them in audio stuff, which you don't really get attached to them too much. So character-wise, it's one of those games where you don't really need characters. The entire point of the game is to feel liminal, is to feel like you're alone. That's the entire point of the game. So to feel alone, and if you had characters wandering around with you, you wouldn't really feel alone. Like, oh, I have Jim over there. If I die, it's fine. But because you're alone, you feel the added stress. So in my opinion, I think you don't really need other characters here. And the fact that you had the Emperor as a friend as well was also pretty cool. So yeah, moving on to replayability. Theoretically, this game falls into the unlimited category, just because you can technically do everything. However, if you recall, the way I grade it is if there's new content beyond just like so think of Minecraft. Every time you load up a world, you're going to encounter something different, whether it be the seed, whether it be the spawn rate of something, whether it be like you find a random pink sheep somewhere you never seen before, whatever. You're going to encounter something new, because all seeds are different, right? But with this game, it's one seed. There's no seeds in this game. And once you beat the main story, you can still explore, but I don't think you'll find anything new. Because if you've explored everything, then you're not going to find anything new. So I think it has to go in the middle by default for me. They're very much so on the end of the default. Like, it definitely could be considered infinite. And I would be okay if you guys considered that. It's definitely not liminal. It's definitely not you play the story, it's over. You can never play it again. Because you could, and you can build bases, you can do all that stuff. It's just you're not going to experience anything new if you've already seen everything. That's why I'm placing it in the middle. Moving on to personal takes. So yeah, this game was probably one of my favorite games we've ever done on the channel so far, along with Far Cry 5 and a couple others. I love every game we've done, but like there's definitely some favorites, I would say. Subnautica being one of them, just because I believe I played a good bit of it until a certain point. I think I'd never been to the volcanic era, and I don't think I was ever in the ecological dead zone. I don't think I was ever in the Grand Reef. I think because I played the beta a couple times, but I never got really into it too much until it came out. But yeah, this game really does a great job at showing you fear, and doing all that kind of stuff. Like I said, it really adds with the sound. As you go down, the sunlight disappears, which is how that works in real life, and that's terrifying because it's like, oh, it's just pure darkness down here. Great. There's even an episode called the Nope Zone, because I'm pretty sure it was all darkness and demons down there in that episode. So yeah, this game was really fun to me, and we probably should continue some Sub-Zero here, because I should give it more of a chance. I mean, I don't like it as much as the first one, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's more pretty. I would say they definitely upgraded the visuals. But so far, the story hasn't really gotten me much yet. And there's also hasn't been anything big. There's been like a couple of creatures that are like, oh, I want to stay away from you. But there hasn't been like a Reaper situation where I'm like, oh my god, what is that thing? You know what I mean? So yeah, in terms of this game versus Sub-Zero, I do like this one a bit more so far. But I'm hoping I'm proved wrong at Sub-Zero when we go back to that, or Below Zero. I keep saying Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero's a character. But we'll move on to Zachary.
Yeah, this game was it was pretty, man. I'll tell you one thing about that. And it really just captures that fear going into the ocean and just finding crap, man. And just finding the biggest crap. But again, I want to see, you know, those skeleton things. I want to see that thing moving. I want to see that thing try to kill me. All right? So yeah, it was very, very scary. I'll tell you what. They really did a great job in the fear aspect of it.
Alright, is that it?
Make bigger enemies.
Okay. Isabel?
Yeah, when we first played this game, I definitely was. I mean, I expected it to be a little scary because obviously the ocean, you don't know what's in it. But once we got more into the game, that's when I started to really enjoy it because the elements that they put into this game, they were doing it really well. And I really, even though I was also scared, I really liked when we first met the Ghost Leviathan and I forgot what the actual name of the ship is called. All I know is that we named it Toby, but...
It's the Cyclops.
Yeah,
it's the name of the big one.
Yeah, Cyclops. Okay, yeah, because...
We named him Toby because I think all the other they were Undertale references. We had Susie was the
Susie was the sea moth.
Sea moth.
Yeah,
Chris was the
prawn. I think those are the only three. Well, we had the rocket, but you can't name the rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had the fish that was named Rousey or whatever.
The fish.
We had a pet fish.
Yeah, we had a fish.
Oh, we did. You're right.
Then we had. Oh, no, we did name the rocket. We named it Char, didn't we?
Maybe we did. Oh, we named the ping char. I don't think you can actually name the rocket.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah, but when we were in the Cyclops and when we were just going down into the darkness, and then you just see the Ghost Leviathan just come out of nowhere. That's obviously puts in the fear and just makes you say nope.
Yeah, and I watched Jack play after we did the series. I watched Jack play it, and instead of leaving like what we did, he kind of just stayed there. And what happens if you do that is they break the thing, and I think he went in the sea moth, and the sea moth doesn't have enough explosion force to kill you. So you're literally sitting in darkness with these giant ghost leviathans swarming around you trying to kill you in pitch black darkness.
Oh my God.
I'm sad we didn't do that because I mean
That
obviously
is just terrible.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't think that was gonna happen anyway because we did it once, but we were in the Cyclops and so it exploded and we died. That wasn't even for the series. That was like a birthday bash or something. I'm not sure what that was for. Or no, that was for the 1 year anniversary. That's what that was.
Oh yeah.
When we did that thing. But yeah, so that was like, so when I watched him do that, I'm like, if I did that, that'd be sort of a moment where I'd pause the game and be like, nope. So, but like, I'd want something like that in Sub-Zero or in the next game. Like Zach said, I want something so colossal that, like Zach said, it just comes out of the water, has like 15 minutes of like just moving out of the water, and then the mission's like, oh yeah, you need to go over there. Because I'd be like, pause the game, delete the channel. No.
Thanks for watching, guys.
The only other thing I would just say is, I just didn't like the grinding part of it.
Yeah, the grinding's a big exception.
Yeah.
There's not as much grinding in Sub-Zero so far. I keep saying Sub-Zero. Below Zero. You know what I mean. There's not as much in that yet, but to be fair, Subnautica didn't have as much grinding in the beginning either, so I can't really say much. Yeah, also, something I didn't really touch on, Isabel touched on it a little bit, but something I didn't mention before, is the start is a little slow. Kind of think of like DDLC, where DDLC starts off slow, but what both games do well is that if they didn't go slow, it would be a completely different experience. Because both games are trying to give you this facade that, oh, there's nothing wrong here. It's all perfect and it's all fun and dandy. Don't worry about it. There's no dark undertone here. It's just all great.
And then you're like, oh yeah. This is
And
all
then
good.
you reach a point in both games where you're like, oh frick, something's going on here. DDLC more so in the terms of, oh, there's something going on here, but Subnautica is more like, oh shit, I'm gonna die.
We're dead.
There's something here with us.
There's bigger things at play here, right? And Subnautica does that by, like, you don't find Reapers at the beginning, honestly. That'd be kind of cheese anyway. You don't find really big creatures. You have to go out of your way to find the big creatures. Except at the end when you have to go to the volcanic area. You don't have to go near the Aurora at all. You don't have to. You don't have to go anywhere near that. You don't have to go in the ecological dead zone. That's an optional place. You don't have to go in the dunes where you can find the other Reapers. Like, the only time that's forced you where you have to find stuff is you have to go in the Lost River, and then you have to go in the volcanic area. I keep saying area. You know what I mean. So that's the only two forced things, and those gas dudes aren't really that threatening. So you find them in the beginning, but they're not that threatening. So yeah, it has a very slow start, and I think that's what both games do well. Because if you were being thrown Reaper Leviathans, like I'm sure you'd be scared initially, but after a while you'd be over it. So I'm kind of glad that they did what they did there. But moving on to, is it worth it? So I got the game. $30 sounds about right. It's currently sitting at $30. Well, for me, while we're doing this, it's on sale, but we don't take in sale to account because it might not be on sale when you go to the store. So $30. And I believe that probably sounds right. I might have had a deal on it or something, or I might have had a Nintendo points, whatever. But either way, we're going off, this is the base price, $30. I think for $30, I would say it's definitely worth it. Because, like, again, you might not encounter anything new if you've already seen everything, but you can still play the game afterwards. You can still build stuff. You can still build this Omega base if you want to. You can build into the sky, kind of like what I did. You can go on a hunting quest for the Reaper Leviathans if you want to. You can get the gravity gun, or not, it's whatever the gun was. It's like a stop gun that's like stuns them in place.
It creates a force field and stops them. So
you can fool around. Like there's so many things you can do after the fact, which is really cool. And at the end of the story, you're teased with Sub-Zero, where it shows you like the little ice, like shows you one of the poles. I think is what it's meant to show you, which is like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like that's a little weird that the character looked at that. So yeah, so that I think for $30, I would say it's definitely worth it. $30, it's not bad. If it was $60, it'd be a little bit more difficult, but I think it would still be worth it anyway. But $30 is not bad, and for me right now it's $10. That's a huge steal. So if it is ever on sale, get it immediately because it's pretty good. So yeah, I would say definitely worth it in my opinion.
100%.
But moving on to final rating out of 10. So this one's hard for me, because I have to consider what I placed in 7, 8s, and 9s, right? I don't think it's a 10. It's definitely not a 10.
Yeah.
So far, only one game holds that title, and you probably know what it is. But I think that based on the fear factor and the things I said about what could be improved, I think I'm going to go with a solid middle-of-the-ground 8. Because I think if there had been a bigger creature, probably would have been a 9, honestly. But there's definitely a lot of scare factors. They did a lot of things right with this game. I can't give it a 9 based on what it placed in 9s before. I don't think it was a game of the century type of thing. It's an awesome game, don't get me wrong, but I think there's definitely things that could have done better. Like I really wish there was just a bigger monster, man. I hope Below Zero does that. Don't know. If it doesn't, I'll be upset. But yeah, so I want there to be something bigger. I want to feel like I'm at the bottom of the ocean here, in pure darkness, see a gigantic colossal eel thing, go over the thing, be like, hey, you need to go over there. I want to pause the game and be like, nope, that's in the video, guys. I want that type of moment. I didn't have that moment in Subnautica, so I can't. I don't want to give it a 9, but I think it's a good middle of the road 8 for me. But Zach.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. You need to look at it based on a rating system, right? So you need to look at what you've rated them with all that. And like you said, this game wasn't. I don't think it's a 9, right? Because I don't think 9 and beyond is like impactful. You know?
It's like yeah, record break. Well, not record break.
It's like
it was personally revolutionary for you.
Right.
Yeah, because obviously it's subjective. Games are subjective, just like music, art, subjective. Everything in the entertainment industry is subjective, right? But yeah.
And to me, you know, if I were to play this game, you know, I think I would be freaking terrified, you know, but I would also, it would be just a little bit outweighed by a bit of boredom just with the amount of grinding that you may have to do just to be able to get height, just be able to get like in some vehicles, to be able to build something they want to build, you know what I mean? So.
And it takes a while to travel to certain places too. We forgot about that. The Cyclops is so slow.
No fast travel, so you just so it really can take a while to get where you need to go.
I believe I either cut us going to places or I just had a time lapse over it because that's how long it took.
Yeah, it took a while to get there. So with all that considering and all the good stuff as well, I consider this a pretty good 8 out of 10.
And the reason I didn't give it a 7 is because the first one I don't think it was down there anyway, but also because I put Security Breach at a 7, which I still believe to this day. Remember that's overlooking the bugs. If we encountered the bugs, it would have been like a 4. But so I put it Security Breach, so minus the bugs at a 7. I personally enjoyed Subnautica a little bit better. That's why I couldn't place it as 7. I couldn't place it as a 9 because it wasn't revolutionary to me. It was awesome, like don't get me wrong. I want if let's say Sub-Zero again. If Below Zero has that gigantic monster, I swear it'll probably be a 9 instantly. But if it doesn't, then it's probably gonna remain as an 8 or lower. And it's definitely not 10. This game is not perfect. Remember, we only rate 10s for a perfect game. I think Undertale was the perfect storm. That's why it's the only thing that's got a 10 so far. I think it might remain that way. There might be a game later that we do that I'm still considering, but we'll see. Isabel, what's your final rating?
Yeah, I definitely don't think this game deserves a 7. The only thing that I would wish that this game had was, I do enjoy like the fear aspect that it has, but I wish there was like more of it with like you said, bigger monsters that try to kill you, specifically in like dark places that you have to go for missions. But I'm also gonna put it at an 8 out of 10.
All right. And agreed upon 8 is where we've landed. So yeah, there you go. So take that as you will. We hope we maybe help you with this, because this is not exactly. Also, Subnautica is not a talked about game too much. Like I've never seen ads about it. I've never seen. I haven't even seen ads about Below Zero. So it's a very, I wouldn't say underground game, but it's definitely not a very talked about game. But I love watching people play it. Like I get enjoyment out of watching people play it, because I like seeing first reactions to certain things. I'm currently watching someone play for the first time as well. So it's a very good game. But again, I just think that they could have leaned more into the horror. Maybe it didn't start as horror. Maybe they didn't want that. And that could be totally true. But if I'm pretty sure they're leaning into it now based on the way Sub-Zero, Below Zero, whatever, you know what I mean, is working so far. There is some definitely spooky moments in that so far. But yeah, it's just like, because the Below Zero relies on, so far it's reliant on the fear of, oh, there's ice above me. Oh crap, how am I gonna get out of here? Because in real life, that'd be terrifying. But it's sort of just relying on there. Like, if I recall, Sub-Zero doesn't have any really scary enemies yet. We had that one dude, but he was more of like, oh crap, I shouldn't go near that guy, instead of like, oh god, I'm being attacked or whatever. So, but in terms of the actual Subnautica game, I think it's very well done, and I hope that as we progress in Below Zero or whatever, I'm hoping that one gets better. And I hope they, for their next Subnautica project, which again they're kind of leaned into the idea. They haven't specifically said it, so it could be wrong. But if they are making Subnautica 2 or 3, whatever it's going to be called, I really, really hope that there's just a colossal monster that you have to face. Like, that'd be so cool. And obviously you need a huge space for that, so you need like a huge like crater area almost for that to happen. But I'd be okay with it. You know, I don't care if the area looks plain, because if I'm dealing with the monster, I'm more concerned about my survival than I am about the pretty flowers down there. So yeah, I just really hope they lean into the scary factor. Because you can make scary monsters. They don't have to be huge to be scary. You can make like a spider-looking creature down there too. That'd be pretty terrifying. Having a spider-looking creature down there, no thanks.
Get that out of here.
So yeah, having like there's so many different things you can do, but yeah. So I think 8's a pretty solid one. Pretty solid for this. But I think that's gonna do it for this review, guys. So we do custom outros for this, so you can check out the review playlist once it gets there. Done a lot of reviews. We're gonna keep doing reviews. We can do them in order. So next up will probably be something. FNAF 3. FNAF 3 looks close, but I don't know. But either way, that's gonna do it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.